Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, beautiful, intelligent, holiday season loving wife, Michelle.
Thank you, sweetie. Hi, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We are recording this episode on Sunday, December 1st, 2019. It is December, ladies and gentlemen. Can you believe it?
Wow. No, that just zipped through. What happened in November?
What happened in November? I think we just had our turkey, slept through the rest of the month, and got to December all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think we were already starting a lot of the holiday festivities, going out to Disneyland a couple times. And
yeah, it almost seemed like December in October, because the holiday stuff was already kind of kicking out during that time. So anyway, we hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. I know we had a lot of fun here, just kind of a little tight family celebration here, but hopefully you all had a great time as well. And Michelle,
same. Yeah, it was awesome. A lot of great food. Thanks to my sweetheart, who did a great job. I
did it easy. I didn't even make the turkey myself.
You did a lot of things. Anyways, it was awesome. And yes, and it was fun and safe. And that's all that counts, right?
That's all that really matters, especially with some of the crazy weather that's been happening out there over the last this weekend. Hopefully everybody's travels went fairly smoothly. I'm sure there were a lot of flights that had some issues because some of the weather that's been happening across the country. But hopefully everybody is either on their way home now or will be on their way home safe and sound very soon and had a very happy holiday.
Right, exactly.
Yes. So we have lots of stuff for you today, including we now know the dates for the late night ticketed events that are coming to the Disneyland Resort this winter and spring. And D23 announces the dates for some awesome 2020 events that they have coming up as well. So lots of cool stuff to talk about. But first we need to talk about we're kind of wrapping up, even though it's December, wrapping up our November trivia contest for that Frozen 2 poster that I really wanted to keep. But we're going to be giving that away this week.
I know. Sorry,
sweetie.
I
know. I love that poster, but it's going to go out to some great wanting person, and I think you're going to love this poster when you receive it. It's textured. It's beautiful, just like the film is beautiful, the artwork for it. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Right. We already gave one away and got a lot of great feedback on that. So, I agree with you. It's an awesome poster. You'll want to definitely get your hands on this
one. So do we have one last code word for this week?
We do have one last code word. And actually it's a code phrase.
Ooh,
because
code phrase.
It kind of goes with Frozen and the poster. So it's let it go.
Let it go. I do need to do that. It's going to be tough. She still is going to have to rip that thing out of my hands as we put it into the mailbox, but let it go. The code word is let it go. Let it go.
Very nice.
No, it's not.
I didn't know you were going to sing. I could have started singing with you.
It's not very nice, but that's great. So that will be it for this group. The next group is going to be a giveaway. We're not going to do code words for it. It's going to be part of our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. We're going to be giving away people.
We're going to give away people?
We're going to be giving away people.
Wow.
Take two. We're going to be giving away stuff to people.
Yay.
It's going to be 1 item, 2 items, 3 items. We don't know completely yet, but we're going to give away a great gift or some sort of wonderful giveaway, Disney, Star Wars, Marvel giveaway. I'm thinking one of the Star Wars posters might be at least the main item in this, if not the only item in this.
Then now you're taking it away from me.
Yeah, we have 2 of those, so... We can keep one and give one away.
I like how we purchase and things multiples.
Right.
With the thought that we're going to keep one.
And then I don't get to keep one.
I know.
Okay. No, we have this great The Rise of Skywalker poster. Again, another D23 exclusive that we got at the Walt Disney Studios presentation event. That will definitely be the main portion of our December giveaway. We may have another couple little trinkets involved in it as well, but that will definitely be a part of that. And I'll get to exactly how you can win that prize here in just a moment. But yes, we did have another Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame category this week. It's a lot to get through. And we want to thank everybody who, again, took part in nominating all these great characters. What it was Disney property live action film characters that include Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones, Muppets, all sorts of, and regular Disney, of course, all sorts of different platforms. And I know it was difficult. I'm sorry we keep torturing everybody, but the torture is almost done. We really appreciate you struggling through that torture to give us some great nominees.
Right. And we really appreciate everybody's input and participation. It's been a lot of fun. We've liked some of the banter that's gone on along with it. So thank you so much.
And some of the interesting characters and groups of characters that have popped up in these lists is interesting as well. I kind of love, it's part of the reason why I love this is just to kind of get an idea for who people like. And then you just see a character like, oh yeah, what a cool character to bring up. So that's really cool. So we also, of course, we didn't make you struggle alone. We had to struggle with our own list as well. So we made lists of nominees as well. Michelle, let's hear your list of your 5 favorite or the 5 best Disney live action characters.
All right. Well, in no particular order. The first one I listed was Bert from Mary Poppins.
Oh, very nice choice, yes.
Yeah, kind of old school, traditional
Dick
Disney.
Van Dyke,
yeah. Obi-Wan.
Oh, Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of my favorites. Yes, I'm glad he's on your list. That's cool. I love Obi-Wan.
Thank you. In this one, Tony Stark. I just felt like he's really played an interesting character and one that, really developed over time that I thought was pretty interesting.
Just the kind of the cornerstone of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in many ways. Yeah,
right.
I get that.
And again, these, I'm pleased with my picks, but I'm not saying that I necessarily think they're all the best, but I think that they have a particular reason to be in the Hall of Fame.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay, my next one is Jyn Erso.
Jyn Erso, yes, from Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. Yes, such a great female character.
Right. Had a lot of interesting aspects to her, and I think that ended up being like a role model, and I thought would be definitely appropriate for this.
I love it.
And the last one, a little bit more comical, because I think this character has played in several of the Disney property movies, is Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yes, Captain Jack, of course.
Yeah.
Very popular. Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, yeah.
So I thought his character was, obviously pretty quirky and fun to have in there. It ties in with the fact that they have an attraction of the same name. And he's in that attraction. So I just kind of thought it fit the Hall of Fame category of being named.
Yeah, I mean, think of what would the Pirates of the Caribbean films be without Captain Jack Sparrow?
Right.
Would they be at equal quality? I don't know.
Right.
I think maybe sometimes near the end they focused a little bit too much on him.
Right.
Maybe, but I still think that he was such a great character that it was a big part of building that.
Sure.
And especially, he was the best part of the Curse of the Black Pearl.
Right. Exactly.
So very cool.
So I'm anxious to hear yours.
All right. So my list here, and it's pretty much all Star Wars and Marvel, which shouldn't surprise anybody, but mostly Star Wars, by the way. So I'm going to start my list. And again, these are in no particular order, just like yours, with a couple strong female characters in the Star Wars universe.
Okay.
First is Princess, Senator, General Leia Organa, who I think is such a strong character and, a cornerstone of Star Wars.
Sure.
And to me, the biggest hero in Star Wars is Princess Leia.
Yeah. And I kind of had her on my list and off my list, but yeah, that's a great selection for sure.
The second strong female character in Star Wars is Jyn Erso that I chose as well because I love Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. There are many characters I could have picked out of that film. I thought about K2SO, nearly made my list, but he didn't. I just thought Jyn Erso was such a stellar character. Cassian Andor could have made my list.
I know he
or
crossed my mind.
All
of those. I felt like any one of them could have made it, and it was kind of like, all right, what do I select? And I just felt like she did have the backstory.
Well, and I obviously followed suit because I picked it. I picked her as well. So.
Cool.
Next, I went to the Marvel Universe for one pick, and that is, of course, Steve Rogers / Captain America.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of Captain
Right.
America, and so he had to make my list. Back to Star Wars, probably one of the characters that I am the biggest fan of, and mostly actually, which is strange because it's very rare that I go back to the prequels for something that I'm a big fan of, but for both and the original trilogy, I'm a huge fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi,
Right.
and I cannot wait till the series debuts on Disney Plus whenever
Oh, I
that comes
know.
out, because I'm looking even more forward to seeing Ewan McGregor in that role as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Right.
So, but everybody knows, if you know me, you know I'm a big Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, so
Right.
he had to be a part of my list.
Sure.
And finally, I finished it out with, that scoundrel Han Solo. I mean, Han Solo, talk about a great original trilogy character, and even in The Force Awakens,
Right.
awesome. You got to love Han Solo. And, you can even go back to Solo, a Star Wars story.
Right, I was just going to say the same
and throw
thing.
him in there
Right.
as well. But,
Sure.
so that's my list right there.
That's excellent.
So I struggled too. There are lots of names I wanted
Right.
to put on my list that I could not put on there because I kept it at 5. I didn't cheat this time. I really wanted to, but I didn't cheat this time. So I understand. The struggle is real with these lists, people, and I understand
Right.
what you're going through. And we really
Sure.
appreciate that you all did that.
That's right.
Yeah,
So-
thank you so much. So here is the list of the nominees that will be on our
Wow.
final ballot coming up here, starting in just a couple days, as a matter of fact. So our list starts off, and again, all these are just characters that received at least multiple nominations. You had to be nominated and seconded to make it onto the ballot. So we start with a couple of captains, Captain America and Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yay.
Quite different sides of the spectrum, but they are both going to be on our December ballot. Mary Poppins, of course, had to make
Yes.
the ballot and was a tough leave off of my list.
Right,
Mary
me too,
Poppins,
yeah.
I kind of helped that I knew that she was going to make it through very early on, so before I even made my list, that I wasn't worried about that. A little bit of a surprise here. Belle from the live action Beauty and the Beast made it onto people's
Good,
list.
yeah.
So she is on the ballot. Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
I debated on whether to separate the two, but they both were going to make it, so I'm just going to put them together into one category there. Indiana Jones made it through.
right.
Tony Stark / Iron Man.
Yay.
Yes, definitely made it through. Giselle from Enchanted is
Oh,
on the
yeah.
list. Another great character who I love very much, and I'm glad she's going on to
Right,
this.
right.
Han Solo, yes, made it through. Rocket Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy
Wow.
and the Avengers movie, at least Avengers Infinity War.
Right. That's a great choice,
Endgame
too.
made it through. Yep. Jyn Erso did make it through, mostly
Yes.
on the strength of us. Both voting for her. She made it through. Bert did make it through from Mary
Yay.
Poppins. So we have a couple from Mary Poppins making it through. And let's see, Princess Leia Organa made it through as well. Rey, another Star Wars name and a very popular hero
Right.
for now, and another strong female character
Sure.
made it through. She will be on the ballot. And let's see, I think that's it. One more that made it through, and that was Luke Skywalker
Sure.
from Star Wars.
Makes
Again,
sense.
another great hero from the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And, another Skywalker making it through. And I love that, I think it was Young Adventures mentioned that Rey Skywalker. And it's like, is she a Skywalker? I don't know. But apparently Young Adventures, you can find on Twitter at Young
Yes,
Adventures with a
so-
Z, does believe that Rey is a Skywalker. We'll be finding out here in, less than 3 weeks now.
Yes.
Yeah, less than 3 weeks now. So that's exciting stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes. So that's our list. So here's the deal. I'm going to be filling out the rest of the ballot. It's mostly made up already. It's going to go out in like a survey form. So basically, you're going to get this. I will put it out, a link on Twitter, on social media, or you can just contact me directly or contact us directly. And I will send you the link to the survey. And it'll be all the different 4 categories that we have out there. And then it'll have a number of, you can pick up to. You can pick only 1 if you want. You can pick 7 if you want. You can pick 10 if it allows you to pick 10. And then when it comes down to it, if these movies, these characters are on a certain percentage of the ballot, they will be announced on our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame come the beginning of 2020.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, so that will be all going out this week, and I think this will be easier on you than trying to eliminate 5. You'll still have to do some eliminations.
Right.
There will be some tough choices out there, but at least you can choose from more characters, movies, And there'll be some, obviously characters that you really wanted on your list that didn't quite make it through that you won't have to worry about anyway.
True.
So.
Yeah. I think it's easier to vote than to nominate.
Right. That's true. That's a good point. Very good point. Michelle always has the very best points.
That's so brilliant.
Yes. So again, thanks everybody for taking part in this, and we're looking forward to a December worth. You're going to have the whole month this time to vote for this next category, so that'll make it good. And we'll be kind of announcing some things as we go through the month of December as we lead up to the actual event. And by the way, we're traveling in 2 weeks to our trip to Walt Disney World.
It's insane.
What are you most excited for your trip to Walt Disney World?
Well, even though I've done it, I still always love the Very Merry Christmas Party.
See, I've never done it, so I'm excited about that. Yeah.
But I think the thing a little bit above that is being able to check out the new resort, the Riviera.
Yeah, well, since we have a room there for 4 nights.
Right. So.
Whether we're in the same room or in different rooms, we're not sure yet, but we are going to be there for 4 nights at the Riviera. In Topolino's Terrace, we got reservations for their new restaurant at the top of the place. So checking that out.
Seems like it's going to be fun. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with you on the Riviera. But there's going to be so many new things that we're going to get to experience this time. The rise of the Resistance opens up this week, as a matter of fact, and I'm excited to check that out when we get out there. Hopefully, just check out Star Wars Galaxy's Edge on the East Coast for the first time, because we've done the West Coast several times.
Sure, I'm
looking forward to seeing, compare and contrasting.
Right,
I'm sure they'll be mostly the same, but there'll probably be some slight differences.
Paint colors, different.
Yeah, yes, that's what I hear. I'm looking forward to checking out and seeing what kind of the differences of that. The Skyliner. I'm looking forward to trying the Skyliner for the first time. And yes, the Very Merry Christmas Party. Get to experience that for the first time. I'm very excited for that.
Sure.
So it's gonna be a fun whirlwind trip, and we can't wait to get out there.
I know it doesn't seem like it's when we put it together, all the plans and the reservations, it doesn't look like it's going to be the most relaxing vacation.
No, we are going to be very busy. I was looking at our I went through the My Disney Experience site, and I was looking at our plans, and I'm like, wow, we got that, we got this going on, we're shifting resorts a couple times. We're gonna be. Plus, we have the Rise of Skywalker we're going to in the middle of that. So there is just so much going on. It is going to be a crazy, but a very much enjoyable trip. And by the way, we will be podcasting from out there at the Walt. Somehow we're going to try and find time to even cut a podcast while we're out there to tell you all about it. And of course, we will have a trip recap when we're all done.
Yeah, so we'll be excited to share some of our experiences out there, and maybe meet up with some people. We got some things in the works.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure some things out. So
yeah,
but even whether we figure it out or whether you just run into us at the park, and that goes for whether it's the Walt Disney World Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Disneyland. If you happen to see us, and we do have pictures on our social media, you can look and see what we look like if you care, and you do happen to see us out in the park, or we're going, and you just happen to run, let us know, and we'd love to connect with you. But if you even just see us when you just happen to be there the same day as us, come up and say hi. We'd love to know, who you are and that you follow us or listen to the show and meet you, because we love all our Hyperion adventures.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's get to our main topic of the week. And this week's topic is really an interesting one for those of you. As we know, it's the holiday season now. The parks are going to start getting busier and busier and busier. And yes, the holiday season it can be tremendously hard to navigate. However, there are various different times of the year that are also can be hard to navigate, because the crowds are higher than what you would expect on a normal day. So we're going to give you some tips on how to navigate these parks when it is as busy as you'll see in the holidays, when it is that peak time of year. Michelle has some wonderful tips to go through and kind of help you out as we go through this.
Right. And hopefully these tips can also be beneficial for you if you're doing like a last minute trip that you haven't had a chance to really secure a lot of things either in fast passes or dining reservations, and how you can still try to get the biggest bang for your buck.
That's a good point. It can be difficult when you just decided on a whim, hey, you know what, let's go up this weekend to Disneyland, or let's, suddenly we had this business trip that's taking me out to Florida. While we're there, why don't we go ahead and start at the Walt Disney World Resort for a day or two? So it's good to have some information going in beforehand.
Right, exactly. exactly.
So Michelle, please let us know what you came up with as some helpful hints for these who are kind of in this situation.
Okay. So first and most importantly, and we've said this in the past, it's patience and planning are going to make your trip, are going to give you the biggest advantage to have the best time at your trip. If you start realizing that it won't be a time that you'll do every attraction that you would want to do or do exactly every dining location that you would love to do, you just got to kind of go with that expectation that you're not going to get to those things, but that you are still at an amazing place that you're getting to visit. And when we're talking about the holidays, that's one of the best times of the year to go to either of those parks because it is spectacularly beautiful and they have the holiday celebrations to enjoy.
Yeah, you just got to kind of look at things differently when you go out to the parks and resorts during this time of year where it's at its busiest. No matter what time of year when it's at its busiest, if you want to be attraction heavy, it may not be the best time of year to go because there's going to be a lot of people in the parks. It's going to be the wait times are going to be significant. Yes, fast passes will help you, but you can only get so many of those to work through it. So you kind of do have to change your expectations a little bit and look at other things that you might be able to do to still have that enjoyment when you're out at the parks. And one of the best things is the holiday season is there's so much to look at and check out while you're there. Maybe that's a better time to take advantage of those situations.
Right. It's funny because when I was preparing for this, I was thinking about when you go on a Run Disney event that you have to come into your mind that it's not going to be your best time for running, there's just so many things that you want to participate in or enjoy as you're going through the parks and running and that's the same thing here. This is not going to be the ultimate, I get every attraction and get into every restaurant that I want to. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to have the best time that I can during one of the most beautiful seasons. Yeah,
you're here to have a different type of experience, a Disney holiday experience or a Disney Easter experience, spring break experience, whatever the season is that you're going when it's at its busiest time, it may be different. And, it's funny you bring up Run Disney. During Run Disney, it can be very busy as well because so many people come in to do the races during those days. It can be very busy at the parks as well. We've seen them double up with having the Run Disney races as well as a holiday weekend, and then it can be extremely busy.
Exactly.
So you kind of got to change your expectation going in. So it's a good point.
Yeah, thanks. So starting off then, what you could do is know what your priorities and limit them to a few, and if you're traveling with kids, maybe ask them each to pick one or two reasonable activities and make sure you kind of just highlight and focus that. That way, if everybody has one thing that they're getting to go to that they're looking forward to, then you're not trying to do 15.
Mm-hmm. And I think you also have to talk with your kids before going into this. And obviously there are some that are going to be really young that may not understand why they can't get on this attraction or that attraction or see some of their favorite shows or whatever. But for those that are a little bit older, you sit down and you talk with them and tell them, look, this isn't going to be the normal trip, but we are going to do these things that on top of it, accentuate the positives, even though there may be some negatives from what they would normally experience on a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World Resort.
Sure. I mean, you could either start by setting the limits, like say, hey, we're not going to get Slinky Dog. That's not happening. Or you can just give them the list of what you think are reasonable things that they can get into and say, what do you want to make sure we don't miss? I mean, it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, right? It can be really fun in the planning part of it. So it gives you a little bit more challenge to make it more enjoyable once you get there.
Agreed.
So, some things you can still try to secure a fast pass, but, as long as you understand that the most popular ones probably won't, and you may decide that for the most popular ones, it may be fun just to stand on a long line with the family, There's just... Especially
some of the ones with the better queues, like the Haunted Mansion has such a great queue to be in. Some of the ones that have the better queues, it's not as bad to be waiting in them. And it's never wonderful time in line. But if you have an immersive queue, it can kind of let that time go by a little bit easier.
Right. You can play games together. You can use the Play Disney app and do some things. So there's a lot of ways to still enjoy a long queue if there's something that somebody in your party really wants to get to and you aren't able to get a fast pass for that. The next thing is, if possible, staying on the property does have some benefits. So, like taking advantage of the early morning extra hours or magic hours. And sometimes they have some in the evenings. So, that can also really give you more opportunity to get onto some attractions that you're not going to be able to secure a fast pass for.
That and rope drop, even just rope dropping, even if you don't have the extra magic hours, rope dropping, being able to hit up a couple of the attractions that get busy really quickly that you may not be able to get on later in the day, or the wait would be too long for the queue. Maybe you have to battle through it. I know it's never easy to, especially for those of us that come from the West Coast to the East Coast and try and get up and get out to the parks at 8 a.m. or whenever they're opening. But if you can and take advantage of that, you can knock out a few of the big things right off the bat. And then maybe as the park gets busier throughout the day, you can kind of sit back and people watch and enjoy some more things, have some snacks, whatever the case may be.
Right. Wow. You actually kind of started the whole description of the next point.
Oh.
Very good, honey.
Wow. Yeah.
So doing the rope drop is going to be able to give you an opportunity to really get onto some things that you like we said, couldn't get a fast pass for. The other thing that it does is, kind of helps guide you to do that early and then take a break when the crowds are at their peak, kind of middle of the day. And again, if you're staying on property, you can just go to your resort or even go resort hopping, like, check out the decorations at the different parks. That's a lot of fun as well, and just have an opportunity to move away from the big crowds when it's, peak time of the day, and then return later at night when, it's still going to be crowded, but probably not as crowded as midday. And, especially if you can go much later, you might have people who are staying at other resorts that might not be there from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of resort hopping anyway. I think the especially at Walt Disney World, that they have so many, they're so nuanced and so different in many ways, and they're all beautiful, that it's really fun to check out what every resort has to offer when you're out there. And when it's at the busiest time of year, when you maybe can't do as much in the parks, all the more reason. As a matter of fact, there'll be some days when you may not want to just bother if you're purchasing tickets for everybody. Just pick a day when you're not going to even bother purchasing a ticket, that this is just going to be a resort hopper day or whatever. And you really check stuff out, and especially during the holiday season when they're all decked out so beautifully with all the holiday decorations. Really take advantage of that and examine them and have a good time just enjoying the holiday spirit.
That's right. So kind of going in line with some of this is, again, you can save money on not having park hopper, during this time of the year, because it does take a lot of time from your day if you're traveling. But if you really do want to, then the previous thing that I was just describing is going rope drop somewhere, take a break in the middle of the day doing something else, and then going to another park at night. That would be a way to do park hopper in a more efficient way. Yeah,
I mean, I understand your thought on that. I don't, during the busiest time of year, recommend park hoppers, because it feels to me like you're throwing away a little bit of money for the amount of what you'll be able to do in each park, just for the ability to skip from one park to the next one on the day. I think, I like park hoppers for many reasons, because I like to experience different things at the Walt Disney World Resort. Sometimes, go to one resort in the morning, take a break, and then go to a different one for dinner and experience a couple other things at night. But I just find during the holiday season, it can be so difficult to navigate, and you can't get to as much, that I don't recommend necessarily. That would be a definite time of year when I would say, single park, single day.
Yeah, tickets. Definitely. I definitely agree with that. One, just getting through the crowds to get to the transportation, and, the transportations are going to be filled. So you might be waiting for, one or two monorails or one or two boats to go past, or buses. So, I agree with you. The park hopping during the holiday times, probably best to avoid and save the money.
Yeah. I mean, you know what your plans are, your own. If you are planning on doing some things like you want to go to Magic Kingdom and then you want to get to Epcot later to do the candlelight processional or something like that. Okay, well, that's you know what your plans are. But in general, I would just say that I don't recommend park hoppers during the busiest times of year.
Exactly. So the next thing that you could do to help out is try to capitalize on things that you can reserve. Candlelight processional. You get a meal and a show. And that takes up a good portion of your day, and you're pretty secured of what going to have the opportunity to get that experience. And candlelight might be sold out on some days, or look at the other restaurants that might not be as popular, like at the yacht club, or other types of restaurants that people don't tend to use when they're going on the candlelight processional, that you might still have availability. Jingle Bell, Jingle Bam dessert party. It's something that it's a fun experience while you're there, and you're going to be able to do it if you have that reservation. If you're traveling ahead of time, and I know they're going fast, but the Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party is another, nighttime ticketed event that you could reserve. I mean, again, trying to capitalize on things that you can secure to have that fun experience despite the crowds.
Yeah, planning. It's all about planning ahead of time, those things you can secure ahead of time. And by the way, if you do find that you're having some struggles getting some reservations for some of the restaurants you want or whatever with the dining packages, always hit up guest services, because a lot of times, they can't really help you out because the things are just full up. But it's always good to touch base with them, because sometimes they'll find an opening somewhere, the restaurant that you really love or whatever, for some of these dining packages or whatever the case may be. And then you don't have to settle. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work every time, but it can't hurt to go hit up guest services occasionally and just see what they have to offer.
No, it's a great recommendation. All right, moving on. If you've missed the opportunity to get fast passes in your most cherished attractions, keep trying, because sometimes things switch up during, in advance of, but also on the same day. So, don't give up, but understand that something may come up. But more importantly is look at things you don't need a fast pass, or the single rider options for some things, but, like the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. Yes, you can get a fast pass for that, but you really don't. You just need to time it to get in the queue for the next show. And, there are other things like that. Or the single ride option might be something that works for you too, that you could get onto an attraction that, normally standing in the queue might be just too long.
Yeah, definitely a great point. Always check out and see what the opportunity is, see what the single rider line looks like. Look for some of these things that don't necessarily need a fast pass. The Carousel of Progress is always a great time killer for the day, and an enjoyable show, and one that Walt experienced himself. There are experiences to check out. The Sorcerers of the Kingdom. Maybe you've never played the Sorcerers of the Kingdom before. It's a great time to take advantage of doing something like that. And if you've never done pin trading in the past, we're going to do an episode coming up here in several weeks. We haven't pinpointed it yet, but
put a pin in it.
Yes, we'll put a pin on this. All about doing pin trading, and that's something maybe if you've never experienced, you might want to check out and have some fun as well. And then the kids can totally get involved in that too.
Definitely, yeah. There are those things that you can do in the parks that are additional fun that aren't as affected by the crowds being there,
and don't cost you anything extra more than if you want to purchase some pins to start off with, okay. But they don't cost you anything extra when you're in the park to do this.
That's right. Cool. Good idea. Factor in extra time. And I can't emphasize this enough, especially if you have a stroller, because the parks really get jammed up with the crowds. And I remember, taking Scott when he was little in the stroller to Epcot on New Year's Eve. And it was, you just had to go with the flow of the crowd. There was no deviation. If you were going to go to one of the countries, you really had to plan when your exit strategy would be. And so, but it does take a long time. If you have to go like to a dining reservations, or, to go line up for a parade, you really do have to factor in a lot of extra time to make it through the crowds. Something that you think usually, it's just, a straight shot and it's only going to take me, 10 minutes. It may take you half an hour because you're really battling thick crowds. So just factor that in when you're trying to work around these crowds so that you're not arriving late to something.
Yeah, you can feel oftentimes when it's not that busy at the parks, like you're swimming upstream against the crowds all the time. It just seems like no matter which way you're going, you're always swimming upstream. But during the busiest times of year, it can be almost impossible, like you're talking about. It really is difficult to get to some locations. So that's a good point to make sure and factor in that extra amount of time it would take if you have a reservation or whatever the case may be, if you need to get anywhere at a certain time.
Yes, if you're like trying to make it through where the people have lined up for a parade, especially when you talk Disneyland, because it's really limited on a regular day when there's a parade, and then you add in the holiday crowds, it may take you a super long time to get from point A to point B.
Mm-hmm. Take advantage of by the way, if you're in any of the places where you can cut through stores and stuff. Because a lot of times, it's still tough to maneuver. A lot of times there's enough people in those stores that it can still be difficult, but a lot of times it'll be a little bit easier cutting through the stores when it's at the most busy on Main Street.
Right. And just understanding that you just got to, if you're deciding to go and it's going to be crowded, and just, some of it you can laugh at, or just say, you know what, we're all here to have a good time and, enjoy again community. The next thing that could really help you out are using tools like the Disney Parks app, for your fast passes or mobile ordering, because that can be a real lifesaver, especially if, suddenly you realize everybody in the crowd that in your group is hungry. Mobile ordering can be a real benefit to have that available.
Yeah. Mobile ordering on the lightest days, I'm a fan of mobile ordering. When it's really crowded, mobile ordering is a lifesaver.
Yes.
And you could be doing stuff. It's another things that you can do while you're waiting in the queue for that attraction.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, after this, let's get something to eat. Let's start planning out, looking through the menu and deciding, okay, what do you want, Johnny? What do you want, Sally?
That's true.
And just start adding the things, and you have it ready to go. So once you get off there, you can go in and pick up your food, and it'll still be a small wait, but not nearly what the wait would be. Why wait in a line and then wait in another line if you can help it?
Right. No, that's a great point, and a great way to have fun while you're in a queue.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of going along with the topic of eating is, and if you're planning to eat in a place that's not mobile ordering available to you, is look at off times. Avoid those peak dining times, because that is going to be a challenge if you don't have a reservation, or if you're looking to get a reservation on that day. Look for those off times, and so along with that is you might want to pack some snacks to help tide people over till you can get to that meal.
Yeah, always recommend having something in your backpack or whatever pack you're bringing with you to kind of tide everybody through during the one. It's a money saver just to have some of that, so that you don't have to pick up snacks while you're out there as much. Everybody loves Disney snacks, don't get me wrong, and you'll want to sample some of those Disney snacks while you're out there. But it's always nice to have something, again, something you can have in the queue, even when you can't get a snack elsewhere. But yeah, off time eating is during busy times. It's still gonna be busy, but if you can eat at what would normally not be normal meal times for most people, it's very helpful. A late breakfast, a late lunch, a late dinner, or early, you know, can be very helpful for you. And if you're, it also is helpful if you're going to some of these attractions. If you're going to the attractions when most people are eating, there may be a little bit smaller line at some of these places because of that fact that most people are eating at this time.
That's right. And lastly is you might want to consider watching fireworks outside of the park. Most of the surrounding resorts, when we're talking Magic Kingdom, have great viewing areas where they actually pipe in the music to correspond with the fireworks. One of the ones that we love is Fort Wilderness Campgrounds. That is super convenient because you're right there kind of like on the beach. So there's a lot of space to handle a lot of people who might be out there, but it's also adjacent to a playground. So while waiting for the fireworks to start, the kids can play there at the playground. You also have the little gift shop there in that same area. So that would be a fabulous place. But they also have, at the top of the Contemporary, especially if you've had a meal at the California Grill, you can go up there at the top to watch the fireworks. And also at the Grand Floridian, they have an area. Or you might want to look at something like a Pirates dessert party with the fireworks viewing.
Again, something you can book ahead of time.
Right.
So you have that locked in.
Exactly. So, the fireworks in the park are beautiful. And watching now, especially since they highlight a lot of projections as part of it, yes, that makes it a fabulous experience. But maybe this isn't the time to see that right there, because one, you also have, you got the crowds, but you have a lot of people ready to leave when the fireworks are done. And so whether you're going to stay or leave, you're going to be battling large numbers of people trying to move around to get out of the parks. So if you're already out watching them from another location, then you don't have to experience that crowd movement.
Agreed. I think finding locations outside of Disney to check out some of these fireworks shows, a lot of times, especially when, of course, the projections are such a big deal now, and you want to see that, but it's, like you said, it's just not necessarily the time. Unless you're booked a dessert package or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Do you really want to stay there for hours? Because you really will have to sit to get a really good spot for hours to find, to get some of these prime locations. And then you're battling the crowds even that much more. Find a location where it's widespread. The Fort Wilderness Beach is a perfect place to see it. You get a great view of the fireworks. It's widespread.
Right.
They actually, especially during the holiday season, you could go off and once it's done to go check out some of the what some of the patrons there put out as holiday decorations,
yes.
which we've talked about many, many times, and how extravagant those are, how much they do to bring up their campsites and their RVs and
right.
their cabins or whatever. You can go and take a walk, or they have horse-drawn carriage tours out there. And even when you're just on the beach watching the fireworks, there's Crockett's Tavern there, so you can
That's true.
get a cocktail.
Right.
And they have P&J's takeout, so you can get a pizza or
True.
some fried chicken or a burger or whatever the case may be, and just kind of really enjoy that time there
Right.
while you're experience someplace that maybe you don't get to much. Fort Wilderness, I don't know how many people out there that listen to the show have said they've experienced much of Fort Wilderness.
Sure.
This may be a perfect opportunity to go do so.
That's right. And you don't have to be staying there to enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
and it is an easy boat ride from the Magic Kingdom, or if you're at Wilderness Lodge or Contemporary or in that vicinity, you can get a different boat there. So it's really simple to get to, and it's a great way to have a wonderful new experience that isn't the same as in the parks, but a really fun one just the same.
And be sure and stay for the electric water pageant that
That's
goes by all
true.
afterwards, which is always a lot of fun.
Right. That's a hoot.
It's a hoot. It's a hoot for sure. So
Right. Actually, we're going to be experiencing Disney World this year during this peak season. So we'll have
just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So
we'll just have to be watching for these things. But, again, doing as much planning ahead as you can if possible. I know some people think it's just a crazy time, like who would go there during that time? But for a lot of families, that is their holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is going to be a different experience than going any other time of the year when it's not quite that massively crowded. But if you just have in your mind to know that you are going to be wall-to-wall people, but you're still at a great location,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, just change your expectations of what your normal Disney trip would be if it's different from the normal time that you attend.
Right.
Go out for your vacations to Disneyland, Disney World, whatever the case may be, because it'll be different, but that doesn't mean it can't be a great time. And again, look, there's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be crowded. There's going to be waiting. People are going to get tired. They get grumpy. Just take a pause every once in a while. We understand it can be aggravating. Remember where you are. Remember how fun it can be, and feel free to just enjoy it. And, it can be frustrating at times. But again, if you take a breath and remember that, you're one of the lucky people that are in these resorts where so many people are working or doing whatever the case may be, you might feel that much better much better
wow,
about
you
your
speak
trip.
pretty. But there's other things you can do. First of all, I'm like talking two different sentences at the same time. You
Welcome
can.
to my world.
So you can interact with the cast members, because they're having to deal with something that is phenomenal for them as well. So it's a fun time to really engage them. But it's also a fun time to revisit things that you usually don't think are worth the wait or whatever, or some attractions that are, you may have seen it in years past and you're like, I don't think I need to see Canada Circle Vision again, but hey, haven't seen it in a long time. I've forgotten what it's all about, and checking some things out that you might have skipped by on more recent trips.
Right. Just make the best of it. Again, it's just going to be a different experience than what you would get a lot of different times, but that doesn't mean it's not a fun experience. It's just different. It's a different Walt Disney World or Disneyland experience.
Yeah. Like I said, I think the more phenomenal one was when Scott was little and going through Epcot, and it was just one direction around the World Showcase for each way. And you really did you paced with what the crowd was moving. And it's like, okay, I'm going to look at these buildings a little bit more. But there's music going around. There's a lot of excitement and energy going this time of the year. So it is fun.
It's like in Finding Nemo when they're on the EAC and they have to find your off ramp to get out of the crowd. Okay, we're going around. If we don't get out here, we're gonna have to go around World Showcase one more time all the way around. So we better make sure and hit our off ramp. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. So again, it can be a great time, just different.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just a different form of Walt Disney World, but totally enjoyable. And again, just like you said, experiences that you don't normally get to check out. You may be able to take advantage of that. Then there may be a good reason to do that.
That's right.
So Michelle always has the best topics. So the great topics she brought us today. So thank you, Michelle.
Yeah. I think that it's going to be fun checking it out that we haven't done it on Christmas Eve in the past couple years, so this will be fun seeing what it's like.
We'll be reporting back all about it when we get back from the trip.
That's right.
Sure. So that's it for our main topic of the week. From there, we always go to our Disney stories of the week because there are always so many Disney stories. I only have a couple for you this week, but they are important because they are actually some dates coming up here in 2020 that you want to prepare for because there are cool stuff happening at the Disneyland Resort and with D23 in 2020.
Yeah, 2020 is going to be an exciting year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, crazy exciting with all the new experiences and different things that they're going to be offering and new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And I know 2021 is also slated to be very phenomenal as well. But wow, we're so close to 2020 and a lot of things happening early on too.
Yeah, that's actually going to be our topic for next week. We're going to talk a lot about the stuff that's coming up in 2020, coming up here, and how excited we are for it, and kind of rated by.
It's going to be fun.
Old school Disney way.
Well, there's going to be a lot of twists to it.
Yeah. Wow. See, Michelle's done most of the writing for that segment, so it'll be interesting to find out once we get to next week how that's turned out.
Yeah. So, am I producing next week?
Ooh. I think so. We'll put you a top bill as you deserve to be anyway. So anyway, to the Disney stories of the week. We now know the dates and the themes for the 2020 Disneyland After Dark winter and summer ticketed events. We've gone to several of these.
Right.
They are always a blast. And if you're in the area, you should check these out.
Yeah, they, obviously it's, Disney After Dark is a lot of fun being in the park there at night, seeing a different perspective with all the lights and everything. But these themes are fun. And we've talked about that in some of our past shows of what we've done. And this year, well, I guess coming up next year's, slate of what they're offering sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So let's get to that slate. And we're going to start with the one that we were just talking about this a little bit ago. The one night that we are most excited for, and this is straight from the Disney Parks blog. The first one will be January 29th at Disneyland Park. It will be 80s night. I'm a child of the 80s. I love the 80s. I'm excited for that one.
Right. And I love the 80s too. I think part of the thing that makes this one really exciting is when we did the 90, well, we did several of them last year, and the one that we both agreed was the most enjoyable, most positive energy coming from everybody there was when they did the 90s. So I think they're going to also be very successful at recreating a lot of fun with, the music and the styles of the 80s out there. And I just can't imagine that it's going to be anything but a blast.
Yeah, we will definitely be going to that one.
Yes.
And by the way, the 90s one even inspired us to do an episode based on just Disney in the 90s, where we kind of looked back and at all the Disney stuff that happened in the 90s. And that episode did very, very well. So I think, talking about the 80s, we may have to do a Disney in the 80s.
Right, true. Could do that as well. Yeah. I think that one would probably have some very interesting from the company standpoint and what they were going through. That would also be intriguing.
Yeah, as we've seen, if you've been watching the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, which is just a captivating and fascinating series, whatever the case may be. We're really enjoying that. And yeah, a lot of it has been in the 80s recently, the last few episodes. So.
Right. And if you're really into things like that too, Bob Iger's book also outlines a lot of the history from, kind of that era, the 80s and 90s especially, and moving forward.
This book that just came out just a month or two ago.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and she actually got it on tape so she can listen on tape. Listen, what decade? I'm back in the 80s apparently. Yes. She got it digital. That way she could listen to it when she's driving to and from work, and so she's been catching up and telling me all the stuff that's happening with Bob Iger's world over the years, leading into where he is today, of course.
Yes.
So interesting stuff. But we have gone off on a tangent. Let's get back to the Disney story of the week. So the January 29th, the 80s night, it says, stroll down memory lane during this throwback bash packed with totally tubular fun. Dust off those leg warmers, shoulder pads, and other vintage looks of the 80s. During that night, you'll be able to enjoy flashback to Videopolis, which again, going back to the Imagineering story, they showed a little bit of Videopolis during that. Awesome After Dark's Fireworks to the Max is what it's going to be called, which was cool. When I remember the 90s night fireworks was so fun.
It was.
And all sorts of throwback style encounters with Disney friends from the past. There'll be inspired food, other photo opportunities, and it just looks like a blast. And I'm looking forward to that. And again, that's January 29th.
Yay.
Other category, Sweethearts Night, which is something they did last year that we attended last year.
Right.
That will be on February 12th and February 13th at Disneyland Park.
Yeah, it makes sense that they're going to have two because it really was very popular. That was, I think, one of the more challenging ones to get some photo ops because they really had some very creative backgrounds and characters for that. So it was really fun, and I just loved that all the little touches that they did of having things projected related to hearts and the songs throughout the whole entire park related to love themes and everything. So makes sense being right around Valentine's Day to have that as a kind of a date night.
Yeah, it's a perfect lead in right into Valentine's Day. I mean, what a nice way to treat your Valentine than to, take him or her to this and then move on straight to the big day itself on the 14th. So here's the rundown from what it says for Sweethearts Night. The happiest place on earth will once again transform into the most romantic with an extra pinch of pixie dust. If you missed last year's Sweethearts Night, now is your chance to experience the ultimate date night in style with love song themed dance parties throughout the park, as well as a glitzy royal ball, which is spectacular. If you do go to Sweethearts Night, be sure to check out the royal ball because it's really interactive and fun. You get to you can be dancing with actual characters in there. It is a blast. I may repost. I posted a video from it last year when we went out there. I may repost that as we get closer to it, just so you know what this is all about. But it is a really great interactive way to see some of your favorite princes and princesses, as well as just some other characters that kind of pop in.
Yes, with them, right?
Yeah. So
that was hilarious, and it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And there will also be other, again, more character meet and greets, food, decor, beverages, all sorts of fun stuff. Moving over to Disney California Adventure Park on March 5th, there will be going to have Pixar Night.
Yeah, which makes sense because they have,
Pixar
Pier and the whole
Cars Land.
Right, everything there that is, related to Pixar. And California Adventure is a blast for these late night soirees.
Mm-hmm. It's also nice because it's the one Disneyland park that you can have a glass of wine,
That's right.
or have a cocktail, or have a beer while you're there at the park, and just kind of have an adult time there, even though this is a Pixar fun night. So here's the rundown for it. It says, spend an exciting night celebrating some of the world's best loved stories and characters from Pixar Animation Studios. Proudly wear your Pixar best and check out all that the event has to offer, including interactive dance parties themed to favorite Pixar stories, including the retro cool Incredibles family and Scare-tastic gang from Monsters, Inc. There's also encounters with crowd-pleasing Pixar pals, including Russell and Carl from Up, and Joy and Sadness from Inside Out. So lots of photo opportunities, food, all sorts of good stuff there. Always fun at Disney California Adventure Park.
Yeah, it really is, and it's such a theme that you can wear so many different things too, right? I mean, your choices are endless of all the different Pixar characters that are available.
And by the way, I mean, I know if you know the Not So Scary, obviously that's a dress up event. If you go to the Very Merry Christmas Party, a lot of people dress up for that. These are great for dressing up. Even if you just want to simply Disney bound, but dressing up, these are wonderful places to go out and fully get your whatever character on that you like, whether it be the princes and princesses, the Pixar characters, whatever the case may be, anything from the 80s, or moving on to another event that will definitely be people's favorite, because who doesn't love a good villain, right? Yes. So on April 30th at Disney California Adventure Park, they have Villains Night. And yes, if you're a fan of the villains, what a great way to dress up than going to Villains Night. That sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure the photo ops there are going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. We got a little bit of that with the Oogie Boogie Bash this last year.
Right.
They had some great photo ops with a lot of villains that you don't see out a lot at the park.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, that, you have the traditional ones that you think of and that you see a lot of, but then they did bring out some that you might not necessarily always think are the big bads, but they are. Yeah,
they're great villains. You just don't see them a lot interacting necessarily at the park. But this is a great opportunity for that. And here's the rundown for it. Unleash your inner villain at a deliciously sinister soiree bursting with Disney's most mischievous misfits. Boy, I can't believe I got through that sentence.
Yeah.
With only a slight mess up. Villains Night will summon you to come dressed in garb inspired by Disney villains and experience Villains Cabaret with a cast of outlaws singing and dancing their way through a riff-raff love and review. What about, you got to love singing and dancing villains.
Right?
I mean, come on. There'll be a spell-divining DJ, hosted dance party, and sing-along throughout the park. And you also have of course, encounters with not only the villains, but some of the more famous henchmen as well. So great opportunities for, that's the one thing about all these late night ticket events we're talking about. Great photo opportunities everywhere.
Definitely. More unique than what you would normally get on a regular day in the park, for sure.
Yes, for sure. So for all these events, if you're thinking about going to any of them, tickets go on sale on Tuesday, December 3rd for annual pass holders, as Disneyland annual pass holders, Wednesday, December 4th for the general public. Usually these don't sell out right away, but they will sell out. Almost all of them that we've gone to have sold out at some point. Sometimes it's not till very late, but they pretty much will sell out eventually. So you may want to get your tickets early, but I wouldn't say like, I have to be there on day one to get your tickets, because they generally don't sell out the first weekend, but they will probably sell out. So be prepared for that.
And if there's one in particular that you really want, then definitely try to jump on that. Yeah. Because I do think the villains one will probably sell out quicker than even some of the others.
That's true. I think the villains one, Sweethearts Night, you can probably wait on a little bit. There's 2 nights, so that opens it up more. You can probably wait on that. The 80s night, since that's coming up the quickest, you may want to jump on that. That will probably be pretty popular.
Sure.
I don't know about Pixar Night so much, but villains, yes, I agree with you. Villains are super popular. That's bound to sell out, so completely agree. So from the Disneyland different events that are coming up, let's move to some D23 events that are coming up. Of course, D23 is the official Disney fan club that holds the D23 Expo that we went to, the magical screening that we just went to last weekend. Well, they have announced the lineup of events for 2020, and this is straight from D23.com. The most important one coming up is they're going to be doing, once again, after they did this a couple years ago, D23's Destination D is coming back to the Walt Disney World Resort. This time it's based on the title of it is Destination D Fantastic World. So that will be returning to the Walt Disney World Resort next November 20th through the 22nd. Destination D will honor Disney's many magical places, from the extraordinary to the fantastical. That's a word, right? Fantastical.
Yes.
Must be a word.
Must be a word.
It is in their copy. Must be a word. So it's kind of like a mini D23 Expo. It's not the extreme of D23 Expo, but it's kind of a small grouping of that where they do like a lot of stuff with last Destination D. A lot of this Star Wars Galaxy's Edge stuff came out at Destination D as we were getting closer and closer to it. So there was a lot more released about that. I think we even got a few pictures for the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruise. I want to keep calling it the Star Wars Hotel. The Galactic Star Cruiser is what it's going to be. We got some preliminary pictures of that. The first I think we saw really of that, and we got more obviously the D23 Expo, but lots of interesting stuff comes out. If you're looking for an event to go to, kind of a mini D23 Expo, this might be fun for you.
Right. And I could imagine that they would be sharing a lot of what's happening for 2021 with the, anniversary of Walt Disney World and all the changes and additions that are coming to the resort as a result of that. So I could see that, maybe seeing more details on those things.
There usually are a few fun things that pop out during this event. So just to continue on with the copy here, in addition, the Walt Disney World Archives, which turns 50 next year, is creating an all-new exhibit that will include 50 iconic treasures representing the 50 years of the archive. So that will be at Destination D.
Ooh.
Lots of classic Disney stuff. We got to visit when we did the tour.
Right.
We got to visit the Walt Disney Archives and see some amazing things. And I can imagine if they're pulling out their best stuff for an event like this, you're going to get to see some really cool stuff if you go.
Yes. It is really impressive to see some of these things and, to know how that they've really preserved a lot of the great components of their history. And that's awesome.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. And also Walt Disney Imagineering's store, Mickey's of Glendale, will both open again pop-up shops featuring exclusive items just for the weekend. So if you're into those kind of exclusive merchandise, that's great way to get it because there's stuff you won't be able to get anyplace else. More stuff is coming, additional details and special hotel rates. So just pay attention to D23.com and we'll let you know as well when we find out anything more about it. Other things happening through D23, they're celebrating, we just talked about the 50 years of the archives. Well, they're going to be celebrating the 50 years of the Walt Disney Archives as well. In addition to the new exhibit that's coming to Destination D, D23 members will be invited to a special grand opening preview of Inside the Walt Disney Archives, 50 years of preserving the magic at the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, California. That'll start on Saturday, March 4th, 2020. So another way to, if you can't get to Destination D, or if you want to do both or check this out early, this will be out at the Bowers Museum in Santa Ana starting on March 4th.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we will definitely I'm sure we will go out there and check that out and report back on it for those of you who can't make it, or if you're going and we have an early look at it for you. So, plus on June 22nd, the actual anniversary of the founding of the archives, D23 will hold a special birthday party at the Bowers Museum. So that might be something we need to try and figure out a way to get into.
Yes.
The special archives birthday party. And next year, D23 will offer 2 exclusive behind-the-scenes experiences, a day at the studio lot for an exciting look behind the incredible work that goes on every day at the Walt Disney Archives. We just talked about, we got to see the archives on our tour there. So it's usually a part of that tour, but it seemed like these are maybe some special abilities to check out the archives during that lot tour.
Right. Yes.
So.
And I know we've said this many times, but if you get an opportunity for a lot tour, it is phenomenal.
Definitely do it if you get the opportunity.
Yes.
If you're a Disney fan, you will not regret it for sure. Another thing that D23 is doing this year is we just talked last week about the screenings, the magical screenings when we just went and saw Up. Well, they'll be doing more screenings both on the Walt Disney Studios lot, also at the Walt Disney World Resort, what they've done as well, but also on the road. So they're going to be doing magical screenings at other places across the country. Not just, you don't have to just go to Burbank or just go to Disney Springs.
Wow.
There are going to be some other places. So here's the rundown from D23. For years, D23 members have enjoyed private screenings of beloved classics on the Walt Disney Studios lot and at Disney Springs with special guests and exclusive gifts. This year, for the first time ever, D23 is taking the show and the movies on the road, bringing the joy of Disney films to members in select cities around the country. So next year, D23 will more than double its number of magical screenings, celebrating the milestone anniversaries of such films as The Three Caballeros, a Goofy movie,
Yay!
Yeah, one of our favorites, Pocahontas, The Emperor's New Groove, and The Aristocats. So they haven't said what cities they'll be yet, but you may have a chance, even if you can't make it to Burbank, even if you can't make it to Walt Disney World at the time of one of these great screenings, you may still have the ability right in your own town.
That's really great, because I know that there are people who join D23 around the country and they might feel like, oh, I don't have as much opportunity to do some of the actual activities that D23 offers. And so it's awesome that they are increasing that likelihood.
Yeah. So that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
I go back, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, we talked all about the screening it up, all the behind the scenes wonderful stuff we got out of that before the movie we got, and then seeing the movie again, which would it painted it in a whole different light. We loved it before, we love it even more now after finding out so much about what happened in the creation of that film.
Right. And I don't think we're good at really selling those things, in terms of describing just how wonderful they are, other than we keep saying they're wonderful, go do these things, but the screenings really do bring a whole lot more love and appreciation to the movies that they're showing than what you've ever had going into seeing that. And it's, I can't say it's 100% like seeing the movie for the first time, but it is a way to see the movie through a different perspective.
Right. And we talked about it on last week's show, seeing some of these films, like now that we have Disney Plus, most of these films we can call up anytime we want. Right. A lot of us have our video libraries where we have them, we can call them up whenever we want. These are our favorite films. Why wouldn't we have them around? But even with your favorite film, it's so different than just sitting there and watching it, which we've done for many years on our television. It's been a long time since we've seen a lot of these films on the big screen with a lot of other people around you that love this film too. It just adds to the ambiance, and it's just wonderful too. I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to see any film that you really love again on the big screen with people that love it equally, go do it, because it does add to the experience, and it's really nice.
Yes, definitely. So does this mean you kind of want to do one of those Star Wars marathons, watching every single one?
Of course.
I know, it would be fun.
The Star Wars one I could do. It'd be long. The people who were doing the Marvel one, when there was 23 films or whatever, 22 films, that's too long.
Or The Simpsons.
Yeah. It took them, when they did that on the, FXX, when they did the Every Simpsons Ever, that took more than 2 weeks.
I know.
I can't live in a theater for even the nicest theater with the nice recliners, I can't live there for 2 weeks. I can't do it. So anyway, that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without giving you a tip that might help you somewhere on your next vacation, whether it be the Walt Disney World Resort, the Disneyland Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Run Disney, whatever the case may be. And we always start with Michelle because, one, she's gorgeous, wonderful, all things great, and I love her so very much, but also because she has the very best tip. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Thank you, sweetie. You don't put any pressure on me.
There's no pressure necessary. Everybody out there knows it's true.
Oh, man, you're so sweet. So my tip kind of goes along with this episode related to going to Disney at a very busy time of year, but it could also fit in for any time. And it really, it it's one of those topics, not necessarily fun, but I think it's important, is safety first. And especially if you're traveling with a lot of kids or smaller children. And just a couple little tips to, remind people. One is to really have a plan before going in on what to do if you become separated. And there are a ton of tips online, so I don't want to go into a lot of that. You can, whether you're deciding to meet at a location or some other way that you want to deal with that. But do go in that everybody does know what the plan is and everybody's on the same page. The other couple things is making sure the kids know how to recognize a Disney cast member in case they do get separated, but how to look at what the name badge looks like. And that they don't have to look for a security officer, that they can go to any Disney cast member and that person knows and has trained on what are the next steps and how they can get security involved. And lastly, and this is not to try to sound scary or morbid, but just, something you may want to consider is, each day taking a picture of the kids before you head out. And that way, if you do have to try to show somebody what they look like, at least you'll have a very current picture and what they're wearing. And this last part may sound a little dark, but again, it's just something, when we used to especially take Scott when he was very little to the parks, and being concerned is knowing what shoes they're wearing. Because if, heaven forbid, something really went sideways, people can change clothes on kids, but it's not easy to change shoes. So know what shoes they are. So that's the other part of the tip. But again, it's not to try to sound scary or morbid. It's just knowing that you all have that preparation in the behind you when you go in. You're just going to have a great time. And if somebody does get separated, everybody knows what to do.
Yeah, it's important stuff. I mean, it could seem a little scary, and there's things in there that you don't want to think about. But it's important, and it also will help set your mind at ease if you take these steps ahead of time, that knowing that you have these things to fall back on. But,
right.
It's really important, and it's not something that most people think about, but it is something that you should know. And more than anything else, we see it all the time, especially, our episode today was all about crowds at the parks. Right. It is really easy to get separated and lost different members of the family for whatever reason. You keep walking ahead and because the flow is going right. Maybe someone's took a stop to take a picture or whatever, or just kind of got their eye captured by something shiny, right. Which happens to me all the time. You kind of peel off and then you can't find those people again, and right. Especially with kids who, you get to a certain age and they probably have a cell phone or whatever, right. But the younger kids don't have a cell phone, so right. You can't contact them, find out. It's important to kind of have those ducks in a row so you can have the best time possible. And also, again, so you don't have that as a weight on your shoulders wondering what could happen if something goes sideways.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Good point. Michelle always has the very best tips.
Thank you.
For sure. My tip is really just, it's just kind of it's not a big deal tip, but I just kind of wanted to go back to right now. It is the busy season. We're getting into the busy season at Disney. We talked about it all earlier in the episode. And I just wanted to reiterate one thing when you go to the parks during the busy season is you're not going to be able to get on everything you want to normally get on, right. The attractions or whatever. So why not go in there at the park and think about doing some things that maybe you've never done before. Maybe something that's, it's something you've seen on the periphery, but you're too busy going to the attractions. You're going to your favorite restaurant. You're going to your favorite show or whatever. This may be the best time to experience something like the Animation Academy,
right?
Because they have a lot of room in there for a lot of people. When rather than waiting in an hour and a half queue for an attraction that is kind of mediocre, why not try something different? Something like that, where you can go in and learn to draw your favorite character. It's a lot of fun. There's all sorts of little things like that, little shows that you've never taken in before. Just walking down Main Street and reading the names of all the people who have contributed to building these parks. Just take in the little nuances, take in the little detail work, stuff like that. Things that, again, we talked about earlier, pin trading, something you've never tried before.
Right.
That could be something that maybe this is a great time to experience, but because you're not going to get on those attractions you'll love.
Right.
Go into the park thinking about some things you've never done and see if that will be a good way to fill some time when the lines are too much for you to take and the crowds are too much at certain areas of the park.
Right. No, that's a great piece of advice there. Good tip, baby.
Thanks. It's kind of just a side thought, but it is something that I do believe is something that is important. And we always like to do different things when we get at the park, especially when it's busy like that.
Right. And like you said, there are things that you just haven't tried, and that can kind of be the game is, how many new things can you try that you would normally think is not the most popular thing to do, but it is certainly more available.
And maybe some of those things that you find you love, all of a sudden it becomes something you want to do every single time you go to the parks or resorts. I know the Animation Academy was something we're like, whatever to begin with. And now we love it.
Right.
We will stop in there because they've put a list. The Animation Academy, I believe they do something now at Rafiki's.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name, but at the Animal Kingdom Park, that they do an animation type thing there. But I know we experience it mostly at Disney California Adventure Park. And they have a list of all the characters at the different times that you'll be learning to draw. And so you can pick and choose which ones you want to do. And we look forward to doing it regularly. It's a really great way to fill the day. And it's also a great way on hot days or rainy days or whatever to get out of the elements for a little while.
And it's a nice little souvenir you can bring back.
It's always fun to see, everybody draws, everybody has different abilities to draw. Some are a little better, some are a little worse. But I'm always surprised because I don't feel like I have much ability to draw at all, but I'm regularly surprised at how good a job they do at teaching you to do these and how the characters look pretty good. I mean, you can figure out who the character is, at least. I'm not going to say it's great. It's not going to end up on the screen anytime soon, but you can kind of figure out at least who the character is, which is, if I was to try and draw that just out of my memory, I'm like, no chance.
Right, exactly.
So anyway, that's it for this week. Next week, we already talked about it a little bit. We're going to be talking all about the new stuff that will be coming to the Walt Disney World Resort and Disneyland in the coming year. And we're going to kind of rate that and how excited we are for it.
Exactly. We want to research it and talk about it because that's always fun to do, and hopefully what everybody's appetites for all the new things. But we're going to try to do it in a little fun way so that it's not just sitting here, kind of reading off of what's coming up next, but play a little
kind of like I just did with the D23.
It's one thing if you're relaying information that people need to know like that, but just, on things that are experiences.
Right. I think we all know that there's many great things that we're excited about coming in the 2020, but there's going to be some things that you've forgotten are coming possibly, or, whatever the case may be. And we'll just kind of rate our excitement for them. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that episode for sure. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts, or the very best place to find us is on HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there, why don't you just take a second and sign up for the newsletter? And you'll get all our information of what we have coming up on our episodes, other things we're doing right there in your inbox.
Right. And the other thing that would really be very much appreciated is if you could tell a friend about our podcast.
Yes, please tell a friend about us. That's the easiest way to others to find out about this show. If you have a little more time, a rating on Apple Podcasts or whatever service you use would be great. A review would even be better if you have that much time. We really appreciate that. And one, because it helps spread the word about our show, but also because it helps us grow as a podcast.
Yeah, we love to hear your feedback and what things you like, what other things you'd like us to talk about.
Absolutely. No question about that. And please don't forget, we're going to be sending out the ballots this week as far as the Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame. We love that you've taken part so far. We're hoping you're going to take part for the rest of the final balloting. And remember, one of you is going to get this great giveaway of this Rise of Skywalker poster.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful poster. You're going to love it. So please take part of that. Also, please follow us on social media. We are on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, you can email us at HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. And thank you again for those of you who have interacted with us for everything, whether it be the Hall of Fame or just some daily things that we send out there. Thank you so much. You all are wonderful.
Yes, we love you all, and we love interacting with you on social media. And again, we're looking forward to hopefully interacting with you in person sometime at the parks or resort, wherever the case may be. That's it for this show, though. Thank you for listening to the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. But until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.